this is Anu and welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you decided to join me today for another tutorial. Today we are creating a beautiful ombre shawl for the summer with a puff stitch flower. Here it is. I am crazy about this yarn. It's the Freia Merino hand paint fine yarn. Oh, it's a mouthful, but it's an ombre yarn. The colors are stunning. No matter what color you choose, it is going to be beautiful. It gently gradiates from one color to the next. The choice of the color is exquisite. I am in love. In fact, I cannot stop buying it in every color that I found. They just came out with new colors too. This video is not sponsored. I'm just sharing with you what I love, because you know, this is what my channel is about. I am not sponsored by anybody. I am doing it for free for you, because my goal for my YouTube channel is to share with you my passion and maybe entice you a little to take your hook and crochet. It is so good for our health, it's good for our mind and soul, it's good for our motor skills, it lowers down your blood pressure. Join me in crocheting today. I will take you slowly but surely as usual. If you're not subscribed to my channel, don't hesitate to do so. It's totally free. I have hundreds of tutorials for you, from bathing suits to kids clothes to bags, whatever you want. Check it out. Here, subscribe. Click on the little button there to subscribe to my channel. If you like what you see, give it a little like. That always helps my mood. As usual, my written tutorial will be posted in a few days on my blog. My blog address is right there. Come and check it out too. My channel is for visual learner, but if you enjoy more written patterns, they're available too. All right, enough blah blah. I know that you like so much when I talk too much. How many comments do I get? She talks too much. Hey, it's my channel. I do what I want. If you don't like it, fast forward. People. Love you guys. See you next time. Bye. For this tutorial, I use 3 skeins of the beautiful Freia yarn in fine hand paints. The color is Ice Queen. Each skein was 75 grams and my crochet hook is a 2.75 millimeter. Take your crochet hook and your beautiful yarn and make a slip knot. Now you're going to chain 9, and once you have 9 chains, in the first chain from your hook we are going to create a puff stitch. So you yarn over, go into that first chain from your hook, pass your crochet hook through that chain, yarn over and pull, give it a little slack, and repeat, yarn over through that same chain, pass it through the hoop, yarn over and give it a little slack. So you did it twice. You're going to do it 4 more times, repeating. And try to give the same slack to make your puff stitch even. You can make it a little smaller by only doing this 5 times, bigger by doing it 7 times. For my yarn and my crochet hook size, 6 times is what I wanted to do. So this is an incomplete puff stitch. It's missing the last step, but that is what we want for this first row. Now what you're going to do is skip 2 chains and then repeat what we just did in the third one. So yarn over and pass your crochet hook through that third chain, yarn over and back through that same stitch and give it a little slack. And you're going to do that 5 more times, 6 times in total, forming your second incomplete puff stitch. That's all there is to it. Here you go. Skip 2 chains and do your third incomplete puff stitch in that chain, the third one. And again repeat 6 times. So this flower puff stitch is created with 2 rows. 2 rows create a flower. And that's your first row. Once you have 6 yarn over through the stitch, yarn over and back, this time you're going to yarn over and you are going to pass your crochet hook through all the loops on your crochet. Are you ready? So you yarn over, you twist your crochet a little so the hook is towards you, and up through all the loops on your crochet hook, all of them. Here we go. Then you pinch those 3 and pull on the end yarn. Here we go. And now a little trick to make your puff stitch look neater. You're going to pass your crochet hook through the last loop. Then you're going to yarn over and right back through that loop. You'll have 2 loops on your crochet hook. Sorry, it's a little blurry. And yarn over through all the loops again on your crochet hook. So you have 2 loops, yarn over through both of the loops. And just like that, your flower will be neater. I find that little last touch create a really beautiful flower. Remember, it's just the bottom of the flower. And chain 1. Here we go. We have 3 petals. We need a 4th one for that first row. So in that little space in between those 3 puff stitches, you are going to go to pass your crochet hook through that, yarn over and back, and make it 6 times, sorry. Make it 6 times like the other puff stitch, except this one will be a complete puff stitch, and I will show you how to do that in a second. It's basically the same way we ended the 3 puff stitch, but this one it will be through the loops on your hook when you created this 1 puff stitch, going 6 times yarn over through the stitch, yarn over. If I make myself clear, yarn over through all of the loops on your crochet hook, go to the last loop of your puff, pass your crochet hook in it, yarn over and back through that loop. And that again is making your puff a little tighter. And then you yarn over through both of the loops. Voila, and you chain 1. And that is a complete puff, guys. Now you have 4 puff stitches, 3 incomplete and 1 complete. And now you're going to skip a chain, and in the next one make a double crochet. And just like that, you are done with your first row. Alright, so this is the bottom of your first flower. Now for the second row, we are going to create the upper part. So you're going to chain 3. So turn, chain 3. And then you're going to chain 3 again. The first chain 3 will count as your double crochet, and then chain 3. Now you single crochet on top of the first double crochet you had made in the previous row. Chain 3, and in that same, on top of that same double crochet, you make a double crochet. Then you're going to go between those 4 puffs, 2 upper ones, and in that space you're going to create a puff stitch, a complete one, the same way we did before. So yarn over through that space, yarn over and back, give it some slack 6 times. Yarn over, pass through all the loops, yarn over through the last loop we had created, yarn over through 2 loops, yarn over through 1 loop, chain 3, and then make another complete puff stitch around that same space in the middle of all your stitches, your puff stitches. Yarn over through all the loops, go back to the last loop, pass it through, yarn over and back, yarn over through 2 loops. Look at that. Now in total you have 6 puff stitches. That makes a flower. On top of the last double crochet, make a double crochet. Then you're going to chain 3. You're going to make a single crochet on top of that same double crochet, chain 3, and the last double crochet still in the same stitch. On top of the double crochet, you are done with your second row, and look at this puff flower you just created. Now for row 3 and 4, we're going to create 2 puff stitches, 2 flower puff stitches. All right, so turn around, chain 1, and in that first chain 1, you're going to make an incomplete puff stitch. So remember, yarn over, yarn back, give it some slack 6 times. Don't complete, omit the last part of that puff stitch. All right, once you have 6 times, in the next chain, in the second chain from that chain, from the previous row, the middle chain of the 3 chains we had made in row 2, you're going to make another incomplete puff stitch. You're going to go to the next chain, and again in the second chain, so the middle chain of that chain 3, you're making your third incomplete puff stitch. So you have 3 incomplete puff stitches again. This is the bottom of your third puff flower, and then you know it, you're going to yarn over and through all of the loops on your crochet hook. Then yarn over the last loop, yarn over and back, yarn over through both of the loop, yarn over through 1 loop and chain 1. Then in that space, in between the 3 puff stitches, you're going to make a complete puff stitch this time. Now you have 4 puff stitches in total. Look at that, bottom of your flower. Chain 1. You're going to make a double crochet on top of the double crochet from the second row. You are at row 3, right? There you go. Then you're going to chain 3. You're going to single crochet in between the 2 puff stitches from the previous row. Chain 3, like so. Make a double crochet on top of the next double crochet from the previous row. Chain 1. And in that chain 1, again, we are going to begin making our incomplete puff stitch. So in that chain 1, you make your first one. And from now on, every odd row will begin and end like we're doing right now, with 3 incomplete puff stitch. So you go to the next chain, in the middle chain 3, the second one, you're making your second incomplete puff stitch. We're creating the bottom of your second puff flower. So every odd row will be the bottom of your flower, every even row will be the top of your flower throughout all your work, adding 1 puff stitch flower every 2 rows. Go to the next chain and make your third incomplete puff stitch in the middle chain of the 3 chains from the previous row. And every odd number row will be ended the same way. So yarn over through all of your loops, then pass your crochet hook to the last loop, yarn over and back, 2 stitches, yarn over through 1, yarn over through 2, chain 1, and end your bottom of your flower by making 1 complete puff stitch in that space in between the 3 incomplete puff stitches. And end this row with a double crochet on top of the double crochet from the previous row, from row 2. See bottom of 1 and bottom of 2. So every odd row will be ending by a double crochet on top of the last double crochet. And for your even row, it's always going to begin with 6 chains. We'll count as 1 double crochet and 3 chains. In that same bottom of the chain, the last double crochet you had made, you're going to make a single crochet, chain 3, and in that same stitch again, a double crochet. All right, now you're going in between those 4 puff stitches and you're making 2 complete puff stitches separated by a chain 3. One complete puff stitch, chain 3, and another around that same space in between the 4 puff stitches from the row before. Remember, that is row 4. Row 4, you create the upper part of your puff stitch flower. Then you're going to make a double crochet on top of the double crochet from row 3. You're going to chain 3, single crochet on top of the single crochet from row 3, chain 3, a double crochet on top of the double crochet from the previous row, and now you're going to do the upper part of your second flower, making 2 puff stitches in that space here, separated by chain 3. All right, and now you end this even row always the same way. On top of the last double crochet, you're going to make a double crochet right there. You can make it around the chain, but I like to make it in the double crochet. Then you're going to chain 3 at the same space in that double crochet from the previous row, make a single crochet, chain 3, and a double crochet. And that is the way you're going to end every even row. And now you have 2 puff stitch flowers. In the next 2 rows, you will have 3 puff stitch flowers. Now you're going to chain 1, and for row 5, which is an odd, you are going to begin by making your 3 incomplete puff stitch, making the bottom of the first puff stitch flower, first of 3 for these 2 rows. Getting to on, I think you are beginning to see the pattern. I hope you are beginning to see the pattern. Oh, that I don't like a knot. That doesn't happen often with this beautiful yarn. That is an oddity, seriously. It's the first time, but that's okay. We'll incorporate it and then you won't even notice. Promise. If that happens, it's not a big deal. And then you go to the next chain, the middle chain, you create your 3rd puff stitch. So again, you have 3 incomplete puff stitch to create the bottom of your puff stitch flower. And again, we are at row 5, which is an odd row. Odd rows are always the bottom of your puff stitch flower. Yarn over everything the same way we had done before, and then you do your 4th puff stitch in the middle of the 3, and this one it's a complete puff stitch, and that will create the bottom of your flower. Now you guessed it, you're going to go to the next double crochet from row 4, and make a double crochet on top of that. And then you're going to chain 3, go to the middle of the flower from the row before, single crochet, chain 3, double crochet on top of the double crochet, and here we go, creating the bottom of the second flower. Doing your chain 1, in the chain 1 doing your first incomplete puff stitch, then you will do the second and the third the same way we had done before. Now do your complete puff stitch in the middle of the 3. So you will have 4 puff stitches for the bottom of this flower. And then you are going to make a double crochet on top of the next double crochet, chain 3, single crochet in between, in the chain 3 in between the puff stitches, chain 3, double crochet on top of the double crochet, and you create your last bottom of the flower, since you're going to have 3 puff stitches now, puff stitch flowers I mean. Double crochet, chain 1, and again you're going to repeat the whole steps, creating 3 incomplete puff stitch and then a 4th complete one on top. And you are going to end your row, since it is an odd row, with 1 double crochet on top of the last double crochet from the previous row, right there. Here we go. And now we're going to go to the next row, which is the 6th one. Since it's an even row, beginning it with chain 6 will count as a double crochet plus chain 3. Make a single crochet at the base of your chain 6 on top of the double crochet from the previous row, chain 3, and then make a double crochet again in that same stitch at the base of your 6th chain. Alright, and then you're going to go to the puff stitch flower and create the top of it by making 2 complete puff stitch separated by your chain 3. You're going to make a double crochet on top of the next double crochet from the previous row. You're going to chain 3, single crochet on top of the single crochet from the previous row, right there. Chain 3, double crochet on top of the double crochet. make 2 complete puff stitches separated by a chain 3 in the middle of the 4 puff stitches from the previous row. Double crochet on top of the double crochet from the previous row, chain 3, single crochet on top of the single crochet from the previous row, chain 3, double crochet on top of the double crochet, make your 2 complete puff stitch on top of the 4 puff stitches from the previous row, ending your 3rd puff stitch flower, and at the same time ending your 6th row. So complete puff stitch in 3 and another complete puff stitch around that space. And since it is an even row, you're going to end, you know it, by a double crochet on top of the double crochet at the end from row 5, right there. Then chain 3, a single crochet in that same, on top of that same double crochet from row 5, chain 3, and again a double crochet in that same stitch. And you are done with your 6th row. Look at that. So you had 1 puff stitch flower, then you had 2, then now you have 3. And this is what you're going to do. Repeat those 2 last rows, adding a puff flower every 2 rows. So every 2 rows you will have 1 more flower. And you will continue until you have the length and the width that you desire for your shawl. For me, I will count the flower that I had to let you know what was the size for me. But look how beautiful! Look how gorgeous those colors are. Just the yarn is stunning. The colors are stunning. I cannot get enough of it. The ombre and the way the turquoise turns into the light turquoise. I am totally in love with this shawl. I know it's going to be my favorite shawl for this summer, for those cold summer nights when you have a summer dress and you need something on your shoulder. I think it is perfect. It reminds me of the color of the ocean in the Caribbean. Love it, love it, love it. I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial as much as I have enjoyed creating it for you. Looking forward to many, many more. The written pattern will be on my blog as usual. In the meantime, I'm sending you lots of kisses. Love you, and see you next time for another tutorial. In the meantime, mwah, love you. Bye. With a puff street. No. I am crazy about this yard. I am just wearing. Click on the little bottom. Click on the bottom. So if you are interested in knowing what, for you, and yeah, a knitting tutorial.